What is the worst note that you've ever gotten from the studio or the network that you have had to put into a script?
You don't have to put the worst note into the script.
Okay.
You just have to live with the consequences. I think the stupidest note I've gotten, that pops into my head when you ask that, I'm sifting through years of, is we don't mind if you shoot with a oneer, but you got to get coverage. And that means, a oneer is when you don't have coverage. You're in the horrible position of having to explain to a network executive that they don't know their business, and there's not really a good way to do that. So I just laughed and said, "You don't know your business." And I still have an enemy. He's now gone over to NBC, but he's my enemy forever, just because that's off the top of my head. That's one. What do you got?
Bill, do you have one?
Well,
I'm trying to sort.
There are two kinds of notes you get. I mean, one are creative notes, and on Big Bang, we're actually working with smart, cool executives who haven't really said,
CBS knows their business.
They do. They're very good over at CBS. The Broadcast Standards Department, which is the censor, you get interesting notes from them. My favorite was we did an episode where the character played by Mayim Bialik does research, and she was doing research on addiction. And they'd trained a monkey
to smoke.
To smoke, right. But before we saw the smoking monkey, and we only saw the smoking monkey because the smoking monkey was bothering the censor, so we said, a couple episodes, let's see it. Because the note we got was, the line in the script was, you taught the monkey to smoke? And Sheldon asks her, have you learned anything yet? And she said, not really, just that he looks a lot cooler than the other monkeys. So the broadcast standards guy, who's really a very nice guy, and he comes up and he says, the network is uncomfortable with you glamorizing smoking. And we said, no, we're glamorizing smoking among monkeys. So I said, we don't want to cut the line. We're not going to cut the line. Is there anything we can do? Because, and you get into the argument with broadcast standards of ultimately we're going to shoot it, but you have to deliver the show to them, and they could not air it. They could cut it out. So I said, is there anything we can do? And he calls his boss, and he comes back, and he says, if you could he says, this idea that you're not glamorizing smoking among people, you're glamorizing them among monkeys. If you could contextualize that, if you could put that in context, and what does that mean? And we'll say, like monkeys are dumb. So okay. So I said, well, how about this? We talked, and came back and said, and we rewrote it as he's cool. He looks cooler than the other monkeys, but to be honest, they just sit around all day and masturbate. We are fine with that.